Do you want to know the only 3 parenting styles and their effects on life? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting, good communication, and how to improve family relationships all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about parenting styles and what effects they might be having that you might not be aware of. In this video, I'm going to talk about the confusion about parenting styles and why people aren't sure what type of parent they really are. And I'm going to talk about the 3 types of parenting styles that you really have to choose between and give you some help at becoming the best parent possible. Years ago, I wrote this book called Popular Parenting Methods in an effort to help parents recognize that there really are only 3 choices on the types of parenting. So many people talk about militant parents, they talk about assertive parenting, they talk about passive parenting, they talk about aggressive parenting, they talk about all these different types of parentings that you can have, but in reality, you really can sum it up to only 3 types. Here's the thing. Many of us are a mix of the types. One minute or in one circumstance we're one type, and in another minute we switch to the other type. And this is because we don't have consistent methods for how to solve the problems. So in this book I talk about the 3 different types of parenting. It's called Popular Parenting Methods. And I also expose some of the tricks or traps that we fall into because of those parenting styles in our culture. I'm going to be talking about a few of those tricks and traps now. What I've recognized is if there are too many options at what type of a parent to become, and all of them seem like it's okay, like, oh, I'm going to be a positive parent, or I'm going to be a parent that raises chickens. What is that called? The free range parent, right? Or I'm going to be the helicopter parent, or I'm going to be, there's all these different words that go along with parenting. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what type of parenting, whether you're an organic parent or whatever that you feel like you're trying to follow, they all fall into one of these 3 categories. So what are the 3 categories? They are either bully fear-based parent, modern progressive parent, or traditional strict parent. Years ago, I was on a BBC documentary called The World's Strictest Parent. Sounds great, crazy, right? So on The World's Strictest Parents, they brought 2 troubled teens to stay in my home for 8 days, and you can actually see some of my reaction videos here on this channel, so you can see that production of The World's Strictest Parents that happened back in 2009. And what you see is that for 2 days they had tantrums, they fought me, they ran away multiple times, but I maintained consistency at the type of parenting that I wanted to have. Why? Because I'm strict. I am a strict parent. I didn't think I was until I signed up to be on this program. Well, I shouldn't say signed up. They had to pretty much force me. I didn't want to do it. But anyway, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. But I didn't want to be known as strict. Who wants to be called strict? That's not very fun. And so I actually looked the word strict up, and it said that strict was a person who governs themselves by a certain set of principles. And I actually do that. My principles and my practice match. I worked very hard at doing that when I was a treatment foster parent for a lot of years. So anyway, because of this, people started asking me to teach all about parenting and stuff like that. So I stayed firm with my strictness. So there is traditional strict, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, it's the goal. We're going to talk about how to become a really great traditional strict parent. So let's get talking about these 3 different types of parenting that really are the only 3 types. But before we do, click the subscribe button now. There's a lot of great content on this channel that's going to help you be a more traditional strict type of a parent, and is going to help you be more calm and happy and hopefully unified in your family too. Click on subscribe now. So let's talk about the bully fear-based type of parenting. Sounds kind of scary, right? And I think most people don't want to do that type of parenting because it's draining. It is so emotionally draining to have to power struggle with the children all of the time, to be militant, to micromanage all the things that are happening. Now, most people can't maintain their energy to do it for a long time. So you know what they do? They actually go bully fear-based, and then all of a sudden they'll pick one of the other 2 types of parenting for for a minute, and then they'll go back to bully fear-based when they feel like it's necessary. So this is why I can say there's really only 3 types of parenting, because most people are a collection of them. One moment they're one type, and then they do another type. Or they see themselves as one type, but then actually they're behaving as another type of parenting. So what does it look like for the bully fear-based parent? So the bully fear-based parent is going to make decisions based on a principle that they use called positive legalism, okay? So positive legalism means, is it legal according to this ruler? So what that means is, if it bugs me, it's wrong. If I like it, it's right, which actually is not very principled, it's just very emotional. So the children have to work around the emotions of that particular parent at any given minute. What happens is the children end up learning to work the system. The parent sees themselves as the leader, but actually they are not necessarily the leader. They're more like a tyrant. And everybody else just has to be passive. If they start to fight the bully, then we have conflict, and the bully feels like they have to win. So this is a very common thing. People will say to me stuff like, "Oh my word, Nicholeen, I've got to ask you a question. Every day at my house feels like World War III." Okay, well, there you go. That's what it feels like oftentimes, that you have to win the battle. And I'll hear parents say that, "Well, I just had to win that battle." Well, it shouldn't feel like a battle between each other. If it's good parenting, then the child should recognize they're having a battle with themselves, and the parent should recognize they're having a battle with themselves. That's how we know that everybody's going to go to self-government, and in the end, everyone actually wins if they learn the principles and skills of self-government. So that's what I'm known for teaching, is self-government. We're going to talk about which category of parenting that fits into. But before we do, let's talk about the modern progressive parent. So the modern progressive parent feels like they are incredibly enlightened. They feel like they have had a cultural revolution on parenting. They are not going to tell the child everything to do. In fact, what they're going to do is they're going to burden their child with all of the burden of making every decision for themselves without any experience. The child, who has minimal life experience and a small frontal cortex, has to now decide which religion they'll be, what's right and wrong, good and bad, true and false, if they should watch that much TV or not watch that much TV, if they should be on a device or not on a device, how to regulate themselves on their device, what type of friends they should pick, etc., etc., etc. There was a woman who said to me one time, she was talking about her children. She was talking about Halloween, and she said, "It bugs me that parents are so picky about Halloween around here." She said, they don't let their kids dress in certain ways, with certain, they call some costumes too dark, or they tell their kids they have to stop trick-or-treating at certain ages. She's like, "My kids will know if their costume is too dark. My kids will know when they need to be done trick-or-treating," And she was saying this, and I said, "Oh, that's very interesting." But I thought to myself, how would they know? How would they know for themselves what is appropriate if no one ever teaches them what's appropriate? Why do we have a problem in society with children not having any respect for parental authority? This is a huge issue. Huge. We have a lot of people not having respect for any authority whatsoever. Maybe our whole society is becoming a little tyrannical. Maybe that's why. Or maybe the society is becoming too permissive, and that's why. Both of those lead to lack of respect for authority, or parental authority, especially within the home. If a parent has children who are very disobedient to them, chances are really high that the parent hasn't set enough boundaries and done enough consistent teaching, at least in a calm and productive way. So this mother that was talking to me about the Halloween decision and stuff went on later to tell me all of the problems with her children disrespecting her, and how it bothers her so bad that they're so rude and stuff like that. And I thought, well, there you go. They're disrespecting you because you're not really a parent in their life. Your role is not actually important to them. So this brings me to another book that you might want to know about. This book is called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. There are such a thing as parent roles. Even if you don't acknowledge them, they are there. And there are roles in the family for the children too. What is the role of mother? What is the role of father? What is the role of 17-year-old son or 11-year-old daughter? They all have roles in the family. And these roles aren't things like their responsibility, like who does the dishes, but the roles are more like who they are to each other. No one can replace mother. No one can replace father. And we know that. If we go through a divorce, we know that. There's this little hole that's there that we keep trying to replace and fix. But at the end of the day, it's not fully replaceable. It's irreplaceable. And so we just then have to make do if that's the situation that we find ourselves in. So roles are vital to the identity and unity of the family, and they help the family be more productive. So look for this book, Roles, The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. You can actually find it on teachingselfgovernment.com. The focus of the bully fear-based family is self-preservation. Everybody's just trying to preserve themselves and their sanity. The stress is raining out in the family, and some people have to be passive and some people get to be aggressive. That's how it happens. In the modern progressive family, the focus is self-discovery. So what are we going to find? You go find your things. It's going to be so exciting. But in this pathway to self-discovery, most people end up very lost, very alone, very disconnected, and it makes home life not feel like the happiest place suddenly. So what is the solution? The solution is actually the traditional strict type of parent. To become a really effective parent, it's good to have your principle and your practice match each other. So when your principle and practice match each other, then you actually are strict. A strict parent is, in our current day and age, the most revolutionary of all of the parents. They are the ones that identify principles and then they structure their behavior, their own thoughts, and their words to actually match those principles. That is hard work. People say parenting is the hardest work, and I think they think, oh, it's emotionally draining. But that's only if you're modern progressive or if you are bully fear-based. But it's really hard work also for the traditional strict parent because they have to constantly be living according to principle and help their children do the same. So they have to do consistent teaching all of the time. So yes, is parenting hard work? Yes, probably the hardest work that most people ever do. It's also the most rewarding, brings us the greatest happiness for the longest period of time in our lives. So it's definitely worth it. So what do we do to really make that traditional strict type of parenting, that principle parenting, stick? That's what I'd like to share with you. Remember that focus that I talked about? The focus for the bully fear base is self-preservation. The focus for the modern progressive is self-discovery. Well, the focus for the traditional strict family is family unity. Look at the difference. Self, family. Family unity. The group is the focus for the traditional strict type of parenting. They want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, going in the same direction, that they have the same skills, that there's function in the communication. Because if they don't communicate well, that's called dysfunction, and it could be the sign of a roles problem. So when our roles are understood, we have good identity as a family, this creates unity as a group. This means we have to know how to solve our problems. And one of the key things to solving problems effectively is calmness. So I talk about skills for self-government. I teach those all over this channel, as well as on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. But I also teach a lot about calmness. In fact, people are needing calmness so much. That is one of the tone elements that makes the biggest difference in your type of parenting. Can you really accept when things go wrong and then calmly do the teaching in a unified and productive manner? If not, you might need a little help. And I'd like to give you some help right now with a free gift. I would like to share with you my Calm Parenting Toolkit. My Calm Parenting Toolkit is going to be yours for free. So click on the link in the description below this video right now to get the 10-lesson Calm Parenting Toolkit for free so that you can start on the road to self-government, on the road to being a traditional strict parent, and on the road to calmness in your communication. The link in the video description below is the link that says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. I'll see you there.